Hello everyone, I'm David Law, Superintendent of Minnetonka Public Schools.
And I'm Patrick Lee O'Halloran, Minnetonka School Board Treasurer.
We are glad you are able to join us for our School Board Recognitions program. It's so important to take the time to acknowledge and celebrate the outstanding accomplishments of our students, staff, and community members.
We begin most of our regular board meetings with recognitions to highlight the positive impact that so many different people make in our district.
Today, we are recognizing three groups: Hennepin Theater Trust Spotlight Awards for Minnetonka Theater Production, Cabaret, Bowling State Qualifiers, and newly named AP Scholars from the 2022-23 school year. This fall, Minnetonka Theater presented an incredible performance of the musical Cabaret.
The cast and crew earned several state spotlight awards from the Hennepin Theater Trust, including Outstanding Overall Performance, Outstanding Ensemble Dance Performance, Outstanding Sound Crew, and Outstanding Technical Team.
The production's costume crew also earned honorable mention. Several students earned individual honors for their performances in leading and supporting roles.
Let's learn more about the show.
Congratulations to the cast and crew of Cabaret.
Here's what some of the judges had to say about this production. Congratulations, the production was transformational indeed. Movement was a strong point for this ensemble. You had excellent energy and attitude. You each knew your role and executed it confidently. Choreography was crisp and energetic with great teamwork and coordination. I won't forget this production.
Another adjudicator said, I have never seen a high school production with so clear a vision, manifested in so many ways across all disciplines. Your individual and ensemble contributions to Cabaret created a work of art that elevated and challenged your audiences at a transformative level. Again, 16 Hennepin Theater Trust Spotlight Awards. Congratulations to crew, to cast, to all of you.
We're so proud of you.
Hi, my name is Isabel Chin. I'm a 9th grader at MHS and I joined painting crew. I started my theater and design journey in middle school. I did 6 shows all through 6th grade to 8th grade, and I was set design. 3 of the shows I was stage crew, back props management, and so I had a love for theater and working backstage for a while. So I'm very grateful for the award and that my dedication kind of paid off. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gavin Durant and I am part of the class of 2027. And let me start off by saying that being a part of Minnetonka Theater's performance of Cabaret was totally awe-inspiring. Not only that, but also very eye-opening with its message and relevance to what is happening in the world today. Overall, I am proud to be a part of this cast and helping communicate such a heavy message to this community.
Hi, my name is Mariama Peterson-Hillique, and I'm a senior of the graduating class of 2024. I am so proud to have been a part of the cast of Cabaret because the students and staff of that show worked so hard and put a lot into it, and the feedback that we got really proved that our hard work paid off. I'm hoping that my experience with the theater at Minnetonka will help me in pursuing my BFA of Fine Arts in college.
Now we'll recognize the cast and crew members who contributed to the Spotlight Awards. Samuel Abelson, Madison Ambrose, Anton Anderson, John Armstrong, Anya Aurora, Natalie Ashline, Raghav Balaji, Alexander Balbach, Vivienne Barba, Peyton Barker,
Lana Berry, Avery Boss, Ainsley Belisle, Simon Beiersdorf, Isabella Bloom, Alexandra Beckman, Ashna Bulchandani, Quinn Bourne, Elsa Brashear,
Madeline Brown, Lucy Butcher, Samantha Campbell, Claire Chapman, Isabel Chen, Chloe Choate, Cassette Ternenke, Cole Click, Madeline Clow, Grant Conley,
Margaret Kuhn, Samuel Daniels, Jackson Deutsch, Gavin Durant, Megan Eisenman, Ashley Enns, Amelia Erickson, Jack Arrington, Barrett Esselman, Grace Gablehouse,
Gwyneth Grage, Neil Grage, L. Grissell, Viviana Greenlee, Ariana Griffin, Logan Harrington, Henry Helsdingen, Elijah Hempel, Taylor Hendrickson,
Lillian Hockman, Joe Hoffman, Kai Hollingsworth, Micah Hunter, Olive Eigelman, Olivia Johnson, Kate Johnson, Andrew Jones, Valerie Kelling, River Chemnitz,
Chase Kickhafer, Amelia Clemmy, Helena Kohlmeyer, Helena Kolasek, Lily Kazora, Emily Kratz, Sophia Kranzer, Sophia Kuhn, Olivia LaFontaine, Shiloh Lant,
Elliot Lee O'Halloran, Samuel Lewis, Eric Lopez Malo, Lucille Matthew, Anna Matson, Emerson Morgan, Ella Morrison, Eleanor Mulhern, Hugo Mullaney, Augustin Muraski,
Sylvie Oakman, Molly O'Neill, Mariama Peterson Hillique, Peyton Pittenger, Kylie Rakers, Veta Reddy, Raina Rayton, Rowan Rice, Allison Richter, Max Rieger,
Lola Roll, Yasmin Lopez, Anna Rosen, Samuel Rosewarren, Audrey Sedura, Casey Schloss, Annabelle Schonenberger, Anna Siegel, Skylar Smith,
Easton Spihar, Grace Stahl, Eva Stavro, William Steen, Lydia Stevenson, Sadie Stillman, Nico Stratton, Zania Tunks, Mark Turcott, Samuel Ballancourt,
Naomi Vega, Caitlin Waddell Tui, Maisie Wagner, Layla Warminski, Mabel Wiseman, Eli Weiss, Charles Welch, Yasmin Westland, Sydney Whiteside, Catherine Winter, Lydia Wolanek, Mia Ray, and Zoe Zavanovek.
Congratulations again to each of you.
The Minnetonka High School bowling team had a fantastic fall season. Several students qualified for the state championship, and the team finished in 9th place overall.
The bowling team is coached by Douglas Johnson and Nate Anderson. Let's hear more about the season.
Hey everyone, it's Coach Nate Anderson and Coach Doug Johnson with the Minnetonka bowling team. We had a fantastic year. We made it to state with the varsity team and we bowled really well. And
are Henry Lemke, Simon Butcher, Matthew Stay, Kira Nelson, Bodie Barrett.
We want to give a special shout out to our senior bowlers this year, Kira Nelson, Simon Butcher, and Henry Lemke.
Special shout out to our seniors on the JVs team, our captains Emilio Perez and Caleb Milstein.
We had a great group of kids this year, a great fun season, and we're hoping for continued success next year.
Go Tonka!
Congratulations to the following students: Bodie Barrett, Simon Butcher, Henry Lemke, Kira Nelson, and Matthew Stay. Our last recognition group for this evening is the new AP Scholars from the 2022-23 school year.
The AP Scholar designation is granted by the College Board to students who receive a score of 3 or higher on 3 or more exams. The students we will recognize tonight achieved the AP Scholar designation for the first time based on their AP exam scores from the 2022-23 school year.
This requires an incredible amount of hard work and dedication. We asked our AP Scholars to share about a class at MHS that has inspired them and has had an impact on their academic journey.
Here's what they shared with us.
Hello, my name is Rita Ballard. I'm in 12th grade, And the AP course that had the biggest impact on my education was the AP Spanish course that I took as a freshman. Being an immersion student and a Mexican American, I found that investigating different cultures and really diving deep into the Latin American world very rewarding and a very fun thing to learn about in class. Getting to learn about cultures from South America and really all across the globe was something really fascinating to me and something I felt very lucky to do as a freshman. Getting to apply my speaking, writing, listening skills on the AP exam in May was something that I felt I had been working my entire life up to, being an immersion student. And this class really solidified my passion for worldly exploring and understanding different cultures from around the world.
Hi, my name is Joseph Brett and I'm a senior. When I took engineering class at the high school, I realized that's what I wanted to do in college. That led me to take AP Calc and IB Physics, which will help me greatly in my future in engineering. These high-level courses not only teach me important content, but also how to learn and how to work effectively. Vantage had an enormous impact on my academics because it finally helped me improve my writing and presentation skills, as well as gain experience in the business world, which is something else I found of interest in. That year in Vantage, we won the Shark Tank Startup Business Competition, which I'm very proud of.
My name is Elliot Burrows, and I am in 10th grade. I enjoyed AP Physics and Calc because science and math are my strengths, and I got to learn new things and challenge myself. I am proud of myself because I worked hard to earn the AP Scholar Award.
Hi, I'm Andrew Robbins, and I'm a senior at Minnetonka High School. Entering high school, I wanted to challenge myself academically, so I chose to take several AP classes. I've found all of my AP classes to be challenging, yet fun and interesting, and they've helped me prepare for my college career.
Our AP scholars from the class of 2023 include Nell Allen, Emma Anderson, Charles Balbach, Charles Bendel, Logan Beniak, Aaron Bodger, Leo Boehm, Peter Chachow, Vittorio Ciola, Caitlin Corkery,
Helena Kramer, Ruby Cranbrook, Marnie Crittenden, Addison Dieterle, Lydia Erickson, Margaret Evinrude, Isabella Idle, Nathan Faster, Michaela Goman, Perrin Hill,
Bolette Jepson, Brady Johansson, Isaac Johnson, Megan Jurgens, Leo Kaufman, Ingrid Knudsen, Nina Lottie, Bowden Larson, Camdree Lassie, Martina Lutschwager,
Catherine Manning, Jackson Mavis, Isaac McFall, Luke Miller, Sydney Morrill, Shelby Molina Larson, Julian Perkins, Kai Peterson, David Piper, Lucas Rasmussen,
Isabella Reese, Sophia Roberts, Amanda Rolseth, Noah Rose, Anton Rutten, Alex Scher, Julia Sheeney, Brady Schlapcole, Emma Schroeder, Ivy Schultz,
Ava Scott, Matthew Siegward, Ryan Siniger, Hannah Smarillo, Annalise Smith, Hannah Steinkraus, Anna Marie Walker, Nigel Yu, and Andrew Zubkoff.
Our AP scholars from the class of 2024 include Emily Affolter, Anton Anderson, Trayton Backstrom, Rita Ballard, Hunter Bauer, Hannah Burchild, Samir Bhatia, Ethan Binder, Lena Brandt, Joseph Brett,
Christopher Brown, Ruth Brunette, Simon Butcher, Devin Campbell, Cameron Carlson, Juliet Carlson, David Castellan, Catherine Chapman, Marco Christensen, Jeremiah Clark,
John Clemens, Ellie Collins, Edward Conlon, Georgia Constantine, Oliver Daigle, Kira Davies, Maria DeMann, Layla Ellingson, Karina Elvestrom, Adam Farage.
Afia Farhan, Ryan Farnan, Lucy Fazenden, Gavin Gary, Joseph Gassert, Ashley Gendlin, Elias Grant, Ethan Gross, Grace Hamdorf, Garrett Hawes, Jeremiah Hazelwood.
Mia Herbert, Jason Hoffman, Megan Holzer, Abigail Hoyt, Sophia Huart, Michaela Kazmierkowski, Valerie Kelling, Ava Klick, Lucas Knox, Lillian Kruger, Martin Kruger,
Kylie Kuhlberg, Kira LeBlanc, Mitchell Lesage, Anna Lockhart, James McDougall, Kaylin McKean, Bo Mecklenburg, Holden Miller, Leonard Miller, Carter Moore,
Scarlett Muir, Finley Newton, Vivian Omar, Elena Paul, Evelyn Peters, Olivia Peters, Sabrina Pietrafetta, Sydney Pronzinski, Elizabeth Regan, Andrew Robbins,
Gabrielle Ryan, Carolyn Sand, Charles Shue, Samuel Schiff, Andrew Simonson, Andrew Scarlid, Ethan Skistad, Avery Stanwood, William Swenson, Ronan Trench.
Signe Van Wyck, Erilyn Vogel, Claudia Walker, Zoti Wallace, Mabel Weissman, Nathan Wheeler, Wyatt Wabama, Callahan Worley, Keegan Sabilla, and Antonio Zulu.
Our AP scholars from the class of 2025 include Abigail Affolter, Sinar Akakin, Eleanor Allerding, Piper Anderson, Demir Augustine, Owen Barbo, Mira Barton, Benjamin Bergfalk, McLean Bogie, Micah Bozick.
Anna Brandt, Jose Buffington, Reese Carlson, Wesley Chen, Chase Conrad, Hudson Kraft, Evan Cummings, Julia Dirks, Regan Donnelly, Henry Doughton,
Sophie Erickson, Reese Fanning, Elizabeth Goodyear, Jaden Hahn, Liam Halloran, Rachel Herbst, Elliot Hill, Quinn Hughes, Connor Hughes, Evan Jaffe.
Claire Kohler, Catherine Crowell, Zeal Cuckoo, Parker Lacey, Olivia LaFontaine, Vivian Lindgren, Parker Linleaf, Grace Lucy, Colin Mascolo, Joshua McAnally,
Aurelia Medzukaita, Lillian Miller, Ariana Novelsky, Lisa Nong, Megan O'Connor, Carmen Papp, Natasha Parnikar, Finnegan Pelto, Wyatt Proctor, Merritt Ravine.
Veda Reddy, Dylan Romero, Anna Rosen, Audrey Sadura, Michael Sander, Chloe Sandum, Sophia Shokatz, Anita Scromain, Prisha Somashikara, Brody Sorensen,
Isabella Stahl, Spencer Tift, Dulce Torres Diaz, Claire Euchre, Sam Valancourt, Nicholas Voves, and Caroline Wasliff.
AP scholars from the class of 2026 include John Albright, Julian Buchler, Elliot Burrows, William Christensen, Matthew Fry, Jacob Gendro, Svetlana Gonikman, Henry Gustafson, Maximilian Kenny, Mahir Khurana,
Kiona Lawrence, Huxton Marcus, Alexander Matson, Nikita Nadaraj, Catherine Nielsen, Henry Olson, John Prisbilla, Manuel Romero Maspoli, Isaac Schmitz, Annie Tan, and Siyu Wu.
Congratulations again to each of our AP scholars. Fantastic work. That concludes our recognition program for this evening. Thank you again for celebrating with us.
The January school board meeting will begin shortly.
Welcome. We're going to start our evening tonight with the swearing in of newly elected and re-elected school board members.
School board members, I'll call you up one at a time, and each of you will separately repeat the oath to be a board member, starting with board member returning Mike Remicall. Please stand and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the school board member
of the office of the school board member
of Independent School District number 276
of Independent School District number 276
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. Family members, after all 4 board members are sworn in, we're going to take a break so that you can go up and stand in front of them and their nameplate and take a picture, and then we'll resume the board meeting. Next up is board member Brown. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of school board member
of the office of school board member
of Independent School District number 276
of Independent School District number 276
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Welcome. Board member Foss. Please raise your right hand. I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District number 276 to the best of my judgment and ability. Welcome. Board member Olson. You're ahead of me. I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And of the state of Minnesota.
and of the state of Minnesota,
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of school board member
of the office of school board
of Independent School District number 276
of Independent School District number 276
to the best of my judgment and ability. Welcome. At this point in time, we'd invite families up to take pictures with the newly elected board members.
Have fun.
See ya.
All right, welcome to the Minnetonka School Board January 4th, 2024 meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's please rise and say the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Our first item on the agenda tonight is election of school board officers for 2024. At this point in time, I take nominations for the role of chair.
I'd like to nominate Megan Sellinger for the position of board chair. Megan's background as an experienced teacher continues to be an asset for her service on the board. In addition, Megan has spent the past year as vice chair, spending significant time with Superintendent Law and former board chair Lisa Wagner, all of which prepared her well for the role of the chair. I know she will put students, teachers, staff, and families of the district first and nominate her without reservation to be our board chair.
Are there any other nominations? Can I have a motion for Megan Sellinger to be the chair?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, our next, at this point in time, I take nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Patrick Lee O'Halloran for vice chair. I've known Patrick for a couple of years now, and I've always found him to be very thoughtful and very thorough about the work that he does on the board. His background in law will give him an eye for policy, and his participation on the case committee last year and joining the Association of Metropolitan School Districts legislative committee this year will put him in a great position to help steer not only our school district but school districts across the state toward the places they need to be in order to grow and continue our tradition of excellence in this school district.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? All right, can I have a motion to have Patrick Lee O'Halloran as vice chair?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, at this time, I take nominations for treasurer.
I'd like to nominate Dan Olson for the position of treasurer. Although he's a new board member, Dan's a very experienced director of business affairs in his professional life. He is very familiar with parsing through the details of complex budgets and will be a great fit in the role of treasurer. I know Dan will always act in the best interests of the district students, staff, and families, and enthusiastically nominate him for the position of treasurer.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for treasurer? Can I have a motion to have Dan Olson in the role of treasurer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and our next role, at this point in time, I take nominations for clerk. I'd like to actually make a nomination for clerk. Chris Vitale is not here tonight, but I would like to nominate Chris Vitale for the role of clerk. He will bring years of experience on the school board to the role. He's filled a majority of the positions on the board and has a wealth of knowledge to bring to the role. He's not here tonight, but I have spoken with him about this nomination, and he is in favor of accepting it if he is appointed. Are there any other nominations? All right, can I have a motion to appoint Chris Vitale to clerk?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, our next item is to appoint Paul Bourgeois as the Deputy Clerk, Deputy Treasurer. Could I have a motion to appoint Paul Bourgeois to that role?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is a school report from Minnetonka Middle East. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Law.
Chair Stellinger, members of the board, every board meeting that we have at the start of the month, we invite a different school to come up and discuss with the board items that are happening at the school typically related to our board goals. Tonight from Minnetonka Middle School East, we have Principal Pete Dimmitt, and he has brought a staff member with to talk about what's happening there. Mr. Dimmitt.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Law, and members of the board. Tonight I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a pilot program we've started at East this year called our Lighthouse Program. And our Lighthouse Program is a response to a scenario that we've been seeing with greater frequency in the recent years. And the scenario is this. We have a student that misses a substantial amount of school. Sometimes they miss school because they're in a day treatment program. Sometimes they miss school because of a sustained illness. Other times they miss school just because they're battling debilitating levels of anxiety, and they just can't muster up the strength to come into the school each day. And the scenario that we would see is with these students, when we finally were able to convince them to come to school, and we did everything we could do to make sure that that return to school was a supportive, welcoming environment. We would say, don't worry about being behind. Your teachers are going to be patient. If you need a break during the day, come down. We've got your back. We do all that we could do to kind of support them being able to successfully re-enter school. And yet, oftentimes these students, they would go into their mainstream classes and they would be instantly overwhelmed because they don't understand what the teacher's talking about because they haven't been there. All the students quickly jump into the assignments or the projects that they're working on, and they feel lost. And what happens is that by the end of the day, when they have that same scenario repeated in several of their classes, they end up so overwhelmed by that end of that first day back that it gets even harder to get them to come back to school the following day. So what we asked was, what could we do to create a softer reentry for these students? What could we do to ensure that they were getting their core education, but to do it in a way that was a softer transition, a way of getting them to be able to come to school and have that opportunity to get up to speed in their core classes, but to do so in an environment that wasn't as overwhelmingly, and then slowly reintegrate them back into their mainstream classes. And that was the concept behind our Lighthouse program that we've been piloting this year. And in terms of picking a staff member who would run this program, we were really fortunate enough to have a staff member named Patty McConaughey on staff, who has just been an absolute perfect fit for this program. And so I asked Patty to come with tonight to talk to you and tell you a little bit more about the Lighthouse program at East this year. So Patty, would you mind coming up?
It's always funny to follow Pete using the same microphone. I have had the privilege of piloting Lighthouse this year, and I have prepared a slideshow for you this evening. First off, I just want to say that I come on behalf of my students this evening, and that many of them actually had things that they wanted to share, and so throughout this presentation you will see some statements that they have made to me and things that I've learned from them. So thank you so much for having us this evening. So as Pete said, the Lighthouse program is a medium or short or medium term educational option for students who are coming back from a long absence. They either have ongoing attendance difficulty or are experiencing school-related anxiety. So that's anxiety that is affecting their school. But what that really means is for them, they're experiencing anxiety that feels like they're either pulling the tire of an 18-wheeler behind them as they go from room to room, or they're trying to keep a beach ball underwater all the time. And if you've ever tried to do that, you know that the harder you work at it, the deeper you try to push it down, the higher and faster it will bounce back in your face. And so I think that some of our students, I just want us to think about them that way, that they are either dealing with one of those two phenomenon in their life. There are two categories of students that I see on a day-to-day basis. Those who are drop-in or as needed, so those are students who are generally experiencing, excuse me for using generally twice, but generalized anxiety disorder. So they don't know when this may arise for them. They're experiencing it maybe in first hour one day, and maybe I won't see them for 2 days, and maybe then they'll be in every hour on Wednesday. And then there are other students who are enrolled with me, and they come in at certain hours throughout the day, and I'm able to deliver for them core curriculum. They still go to their electives with their electives teacher, and they go to math with a saint who is able to handle their math, because I am definitely not that teacher. I have some numbers for you. Some of us are numbers people. 100% of the Lighthouse students report feeling cared about in our program. 62% of the Lighthouse students are those that I called enrolled, who are there for specific hours, and 38% of them are drop-in. 87% of Lighthouse students say that they feel significantly safer due to the program. And those others say that it remains mostly the same. And then 100% of the Lighthouse students report finding it easier to attend school. These are some of the things that they've taught me. They know that you care about them and wanted this for them. They know that their teachers care about them, their parents care about them, but they are deeply afraid that we are angry with them for needing this program. It's one of the things that breaks my heart. They regularly say, that teacher's gonna be angry at me, that teacher's gonna be disappointed with me. And I frequently tell them that the number one thing that makes their teachers angry with them is when they keep other people from learning. The number two is wasted potential, and so the fact that they're in the building is really what's going to be the thing that continues their education. We want the best for them, and we're trying to reinforce that with them every day. And the last thing that they've taught me is they really don't want to need this program. And that's one of the things that's been the most moving for me, is that they say, I'm so glad it's here, but I really wish I didn't need to be there. What they wish everyone knew about them is that they want to do well in school, but this other thing, that tire that they're dragging around behind them, it's bigger than they can handle. And it just feels so much bigger than going to their regular classes. Many of them are not sleeping in their own beds. At one point when I took a survey of my students at the beginning of the year, I had slightly fewer students at that time. 100% of them were either the last person in their home to fall asleep at night, or they were sleeping in a room with a sibling or a parent that was not their original place that they slept. They are getting significantly less sleep than is recommended, and I promise you that if there was a way to just somehow give them 2 more hours of sleep every night, my room would be a little bit less full every day. Approximately 75% of the Lighthouse students have an ongoing relationship with a therapist, so the answer is not necessarily just mental health services, but also this other piece. What they like about it is that they're working with fewer distractions, they feel safe, and the community is multi-grade level. One of my favorite stories is that I had a very young girl. She's actually just 11 years old, and she's in my program. She was one of my originals, and then one of my other originals who is like, one of my older 8th graders, just in so many ways, just bold and amazing. And so many people come up to me and say, I didn't know she needed this. But she just has this thing that she's dealing with all the time. She cares so much about this 6th grader that she's regularly sending her messages throughout the day. They have a community group online. They also play Fortnite together. I don't get that part, but whatever. And this 8th grader is always reaching out to this 6th grader every time she's not in school, every time she misses a class or anything like that. She's like, you can do this, you can be there. And the last thing that's really interesting about some of the things that I didn't expect was they feel more comfortable going back to a class if another Lighthouse kid is in that class. And so there's one language arts teacher who happens to have 3 of my kids in the same hour, and they will just traipse down the hall together and go down there, and it's been a really great thing to see. Some challenges, and there are quite a few. It has been harder than expected for them to return to classes on a regular basis. Some students that we thought might be with us for 6 weeks have now extended into 8 and 10. It is hard for some students that the anxiety doesn't just go away because they have this program. I think everybody wants there to be a quick fix and some pill I could take and make it all go away. But that's not necessarily how anxiety works. It's kind of a slow lift. Some students have experienced very significant new bumps in the road. In fact, I have one guy has a physical health issue, and it feels like every time we're ready to go back to every class that he's so ready, he'll miss 4 more days of school. And it's due to a physical illness, and it's a significant thing for him. But to have this and to be able to reintegrate him each time, it's been quite a blessing. Students report these benefits to them: better attendance, understanding from others, and belonging. And parents have reported that hard days are a little easier. You may have seen these parents in the parking lot. They're the ones who are sitting there having a very intense conversation behind the steering wheel trying to convince a child to get out of the car. They've gotten all the way there, and then all of a sudden, all of it rushes over them. I have a couple parent perspectives here, but I also just want to say that the parents of our students are tremendously supportive of what they're doing, and it's been a wonderful blessing. 2 young men had moms who reached out to me that wanted to make a statement, and this parent had shared that Lighthouse is a place where her son is able to still have his peers around him despite the fact of what he's facing. And this other mom is the mom of the young man who I told you had returned multiple times, and I think that that's something that we will have to expect in the future. That when we first started, we thought maybe it was going to be a little bit more of a shuttle system, but maybe it might be a little bit more cyclical than that. So I would love to hear any questions or anything that you have for me, but thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions?
Speaking as the parent of children who fall into this category and being a parent who has been sitting behind the steering wheel having those conversations, I can only say thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I had a question. First of all, I'll echo the thanks. I think all of us who had kids going through middle school or high school in the pandemic and later have experienced the increase in anxiety, and so it's good to see a system or a plan to work on that. I was curious how understanding the other teachers and their other classmates have been about this program. Does it put a target on them, or has it been fairly well accepted?
I think that one of the things I have heard from some of my students is that they do like to go back to those classes where they have a fellow Lighthouse kid with them, because it reduces the number of questions. Because maybe if student A didn't go one day, student B was able to say, oh, he's at Lighthouse, it's okay. But I do think that students have typically grown to understand throughout the building what the program is, and they do know what it's for. The fact that I bring my dog to school helps, because a lot of kids come in and see what we're doing, and they like to visit Coco on a regular basis. But I think in terms of other teachers, generally speaking, teachers have been tremendously supportive, and all of you are familiar with Schoology. They allow me to go onto their Schoology page and find the assignments and work through those with the kids. We've been able to, I call them in the middle of the hour sometimes and say, what is this? But one of the great things that I've seen is also just how so many of the lessons across the board throughout our school, teachers are able to take them and say, this is the most important thing that I want this kid to get, and they do that for me on a regular basis. Get them right here, and I can take them back in at that moment. So that's been a wonderful thing.
I think this is wonderful. I really, really, truly admire all the efforts going into that. How many students do you have at any given time?
Right now I have 14, which is 1% of the population at MME.
Any other questions or comments for Minnetonka Middle East? Thank you guys so much for presenting. It's always great to hear kind of the individual things that are happening for student support, and we appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've We've reached the portion of our evening where we do community comments. I believe we do have one community comment. Are there others? Okay, since we do have a community comment, I'm going to go ahead and read the guidelines. Welcome to the Minnetonka Schools Board meeting. In the interest of open communications, the Minnetonka School District wishes to provide an opportunity for the public to address the school board. That opportunity is provided at every regular school board meeting during community comments. Anyone indicating a desire to speak to an item included in the meeting agenda, except for the consent agenda and/or information that personally identifies or violates the privacy rights of an individual during community comments, will be acknowledged by the board chair. When called upon to speak, please state your name, address, and topic. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a whole, not to any specific members or to any person who is not a member of the board. If there are a number of individuals present to speak on the same topic, please designate a spokesperson who can summarize the issue. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Longer time may be granted at the discretion of the board chair. If you have written comments, the board would like to have a copy, which will help them better understand, investigate, and respond to your concern. During community comments, the board and administration listen to comments. Board members or the superintendent may ask clarifying questions of you in order to gain a thorough understanding of your concern, suggestion, or request. If there is any response or follow-up to your comment or suggestion, you will be contacted via email or phone by a member of the board or administration in a timely manner. Please be aware that disrespectful comments or comments of a personal nature directed at an individual either by name or inference will not be allowed. Personnel concerns should be directed first to a principal or executive director of the department, then to the executive director of human resources, then to the superintendent, and finally in writing to the board. Do we have the timer? Okay, so we have a timer for the community comments that will be visible over there. So Nick Barr, I'd like to have you come on up, and Nick is here to speak to the review of the 24-25 school board goals.
All right, Madam Chair, Superintendent Law, members of the board, thank you. My name is Nick Barr. I'm here to speak on the agenda item of reviewing the 24-25 school board goals, specifically the action step of expanding student opportunities and the excellence in student learning and support goal. I currently teach computer science at the high school and have been with the district now for 15 years. I've taught both tech ed and computer science courses at the high school and middle school levels. I'm a son of a lifelong educator, I'm a brother of an educator, and it's something that I absolutely love. And until recently, there's honestly no other job I could imagine myself doing. During my 15 years at the district, I have taught 38 different courses. That averages out to be 2 new courses a year for me. I've also been involved in the creation of dozens of new courses for the middle school, high school, Tonka Online, Vantage, and Momentum programs. I have been instrumental in the creation of our computer science offerings at the high school level, where we now have over a dozen different options, including a CIS course, a College in the Schools course through the University of Minnesota, that only 3 other schools in the state of Minnesota offer. I'm not sharing this information as some sort of a humble brag, as the youth would say, but to help you gain a better understanding of my perspective when it comes to new course and program creation. The work that goes into the ideation and creation of these courses is no small feat to accomplish, and it takes countless of hours of research and work to make it happen. We are, of course, paid for the curriculum writing aspects for these courses, but the number of hours we are paid for never comes close to covering the number of hours that we actually take to create, modify, and refine these courses. Additionally, we are not provided any sort of compensation for the initial planning and creation. Why do we do all this work that goes unpaid? Because we're teachers. Because we want our students to have these opportunities and thrive. I and my fellow colleagues take great pride in the fact that we have so many offerings and resources available. It is clear the district is also proud by sharing this in communications in person, online, and distributed to our local community. We often hear from the district how students want to come to this district because of these offerings. Yet these programs would still be ideas or shells of courses if it wasn't for the hard work, dedication, and passion of Minnetonka teachers who bring them. I ask that if our district is truly proud of the programs and offerings our students have, then they should acknowledge the hard work that goes into them by providing a fair financial compensation for the educators who are responsible for the creation and implementation of these new opportunities, Minnetonka teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the organization of the school board. Each year at the organizational meeting, board members are asked to decide upon a time and day and place of each regular school board meeting. Can I have a motion to fix the time, day, and place of each regular board meeting as outlined in your packet?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to fix the time, day, and place of the board study sessions as outlined in the board packet. Could I have a motion to fix the time, day, and place of the board study sessions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Is there a discussion? Okay. Now, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the setting of salaries for the chairperson, vice chairperson, treasurer, clerk, and board directors as outlined in the board packet. Can I have a motion to approve the salaries?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sally, is there any discussion? I should say the names too.
Chair Wagner, Chair Selinger, Chair Wagner's probably sitting someplace watching this board meeting, former chair. Chair Selinger, this question came up to me ahead of this meeting about the compensation for board member, and so I just want to put it on the public record that at $375 a month, board members' compensation is the lowest among our neighbors, has been unchanged for 5 years, and some months is significantly less than minimum wage. So for public comments about, actually I Googled online, it was $75,000 to $100,000. I just want to dispute that myth that it's $375 a month to serve on the board. And given beyond board meetings, all the committee work that you do, an additional time that the board meets, I want to make sure the public understands that's the compensation rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a motion to resolution designating depositories as outlined in the board packet. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Dan, is there a second? Second. Camry, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a motion to designate the official newspaper of the Minnetonka School District, which we have designated as the Sun Sailor. Can I have a motion to approve the designation of the Sun Sailor as the Minnetonka Schools designated newspaper?
So moved.
Sally, is there a second?
Second.
Mike, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next is to designate an official radio station for emergency announcements. Can I have a motion to approve? Sorry, I had to flip my page there. Can I have a motion to approve that we designate the radio station WCCO AM as the official station for emergency school announcements, such as the closing of school due to inclement weather?
So moved.
Camry, is there a second?
Second.
Mike, any discussion?
It's probably a curious motion and second. It's been tradition. Nobody listens to the radio for school announcements. We push out messages, we will continue to do that. But in case the public wonders why, that has been a longstanding tradition.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. The next is to appoint the auditor for Minnetonka Schools. Can I have a motion to appoint Clifton Larson Allen They were initially appointed in March of 1999, and they have been appointed each subsequent year to perform the annual audit on behalf of the school board.
So moved.
Dan, second.
Second.
Patrick, any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to set the superintendent's evaluation dates. We have designated the mid-year conference to be held February 22nd and the final evaluation on June 30th. There are some other additional evaluations times that we will meet as a board outlined in your packet. Can I have a motion to approve the setting of the superintendent's evaluation dates?
So moved.
Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Kemery, is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next is to set a mileage allowance for business purposes not covered thereby through negotiated agreements. It's outlined in the packet around the mileage rate. For 2024, the rate was set at 67 cents per mile. Can I have a motion to approve the mileage allowance as outlined in the packet?
So moved.
Dan, is there a second?
Second.
Patrick, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is to approve the school board representative to the Intermediate District 287 Board. Can I have a motion to approve the appointment of Mike Remicall to the District 287 Board for a term of 2 years, commencing in January of 2024?
So moved.
Patrick, is there a second?
Second.
Sally, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And lastly, in this section, we're going to have a motion to approve the board committee assignments. Each year at the organizational meeting, we're asked to review and approve which committees each of the board members will sit in. As outlined in the packet, can I have a motion to approve the committee assignments?
So moved.
Sally, is there a second? Second. Kemery, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next item on our agenda is a review of the long-term financial stability and possible enrollment increase, and I'll turn it over to Superintendent Law to introduce.
Chair Selinger, members of the board, as you're aware that the long-term financial stability is a board goal. And within that board goal, there were action items that the board will hear potential strategies to address and ensure long-term financial stability. This is the second discussion the board will have, the first for this board, on the topic of potential enrollment adjustments as a strategy to offset long-term financial concerns. The board won't be deciding tonight, but this discussion will come back again in time to meet the open enrollment window in February at our board meeting for a final decision. Tonight, I invite Mr. Bourgeois to talk about the financial history, the enrollment cap, and future budget reductions. Mr. Bourgeois.
Thank you, Superintendent Law, Madam Chair, and members of the board. It's repeat season on the Hallmark Channel, so I'm going to do a repeat of this from December 4th with a few additional slides. This chart is actually a history of Minnetonka Independent School District 276 budget reductions since 1994. The reason you go back to 1994 is that is a year when the legislature made significant changes in funding, from shifting it more from local to more state aid. And so the district entered a period of about 10 years where there was significant budget reductions or deficit spending. And the highest blue bar there is the year of 2005, 2006, where about $3.285 million was reduced. In today's dollar, that was 5.2% of the budget back then, after 4 out of 5 previous years having budget reductions. And that's equivalent to about $8.3 million for the FY24 budget, just to give people context. But if you look at the chart, after that, we have been a unicorn compared to every other school district in the rest of the state. We've had basically a 17-year run of no budget reduction process. And we've been able to basically focus on educating our students and not worrying about who's going to not have a job in the next year. And we've been able to do that through a variety of strategies that I'll go through shortly. But it's important to kind of understand where the district has been. The district does move in kind of like long-term arcs at different time periods. And so right now we're at the point where we're having to do some additional work to try to continue that streak. So how do we make this happen? It was large amounts of ongoing revenue over and above what the state would provide. Thankfully, our local taxpayers have helped us out a lot. But this is a metaphor. I've got 3 metaphors buried in this projection, or this presentation. But so we've had this major revenue growth sources during our 18-year run. And so use the metaphor of a 747 with 4 engines. How have we been able to fly high? This one has a little bit of Minnetonka blue and white on it. So our state aid revenue formulas, everybody gets that. Every district gets that. There's local levy formulas, revenue formulas, and every school district gets that. But the difference for us, over and above what the state provides, is we were able to have open enrollment grow by an average of 223 per year for approximately 16 years. And our operating referendum was able to be increased. Our local taxpayers approved 3 different chunks of increases of $436 per pupil in 2007, and then $340 per pupil in 2 years, one for fiscal 17 and one for fiscal 20, with a referendum that they approved in 2015. So those were very important. Back in 2007, the district was facing a $2.3 million budget deficit for FY 2009. And again, that's at that budget for that size was a pretty big chunk of money after multiple years of reductions. The revenue shortfall was 3.1% on a $74 million worth of continuing expenditures. And Dr. Peterson showed me a Bill Moore survey in April when I just started that showed 60% opposition to increasing the operating referendum, and it would generate about $4 million in revenue. It was going to be a 12% increase over the prior year's levy of $31.9 million. Well, and I came up with this thought. We had been bonding for, we had been paying as you go for long-term maintenance to replace large components of our buildings. And that's kind of like, doing pay as you go is okay, but it's kind of like paying for, in addition to your house all in 1 year, as opposed to having a mortgage on it. That's the best example that I can give. But we came up with the concept of bonding for long-term maintenance and paying for these long-lived improvements. We were replacing things in buildings that had been originally installed 40, 50 years before, and they were going to last 30, 40, 50 years before. And bonding for them, so we pay for them over the life of the improvement in the asset that we made. And so what that allowed us to do is it basically, if you see the green bar on the left, we took that green bar and we shrunk it down on the right because we were just starting to make payments on bonds as opposed to just a big lump sum. And that allowed us then to have the blue part grow by an equivalent amount. And so we were able to run a tax-neutral operating referendum. So that was seen by the public as a prudent thing to do, and we ended up with 65 approvals. So we flipped the approval rating by using a different strategy and having a tax-neutral referendum. We also extended our capital projects levy at that time. Now, the thing is we also had started open enrollment in basically fall of 2007 and 08 was the first year of immersion, and that's when open enrollment really started to kick in. The thing is if we didn't increase our capacity of our buildings, we were going to top out around 8,200 or so students. So we'd have a run of some additional incremental revenue growth for 2 or 3 years, but then we were going to top out and be right back where we were. And if that happened, we would be kind of back in the bad old days where we'd be having relatively flat enrollment like we had before that. So what we did is we actually added on. Those are the bond issues that we've done over the last 17 years to basically add on to our buildings, utilizing existing revenue streams, not asking the taxpayers to do a building bond referendum, but making a go of it out of two things called operating capital, which is money dedicated for capital items, not for salaries and benefits, and lease levy, which is also money dedicated for capital items, facilities, not salaries and benefits. But we were able to grow the district. And so we actually, list of improvements from 2008 to date, 142 additional classrooms gave us additional space from new builds or internal reconfigurations and 61 small group rooms. I'm not going to go down the whole list, but we've added, gymnasiums. We've basically, we did some cafeteria expansions. We have some additions, momentum at the Pagel. So a lot of, some parking lot expansions, some people say not enough, but as much as we could get in terms of buying up land. But we've done $99 million in capacity improvements from existing revenue streams with no need for building bond referendum election to do it. That allowed this to happen. Instead of topping out at 8,200, we are up at about 11,200 at the end of fiscal year 23. So that helped to create a virtuous cycle of additional revenue coming in because each one of those students brings in the same revenue that a resident student does. In 2015, we developed a strategy called the Tonka two-step, just for fun, we call it that. But we were one of the first districts to actually ask for revenue from an operating referendum in 2 steps, just asking for the money that we needed when we needed it. We got the public approved $340 per pupil for $4.1 million plus inflation. That was a more modest 8% increase on the annual levy. If we had gone right up to the top, it was going to be about a 22% ask, and that was not polling very well. But we divided it out, and it turned out to be then for fiscal 20, another $4.7 million, which is about an 8.5% increase, 8.6% increase then. But that was, we asked the community for just what we needed when we needed it, and that passed actually with 72% support. So thank you, Minnetonka community. And these additional funds basically sustain the district through, pretty much FY23. So what all these large chunks of revenue made possible are handicapped kindergarten age 12 to grade 12 student enrollment growth. It grew from 7, went back into the archives. History's a good thing. And pulled out the budget books from back then and the annual reports and then compared it to fiscal year 23 annual report. So our student enrollment grew from 7,665 in 06 before our enrollment growth really kicked in to 11,259 for FY23. That's a 47% increase in students. And the general fund revenue increases were put into an instruction and instructional support. Our general operating fund teacher FTE growth grew from 479 in fiscal year 06 before the enrollment growth to 843 in fiscal year 23. So that's a 364 increase, 364 teacher FTE increase, which is a 76% increase in our teaching staff for a 47% increase in students. If you're into the old kind of the rate of increase type of thing with calculus, it's basically our rate of increase was 62% greater than the rate of increase in students. But that was a good thing because we could all focus on teaching our students. Paraprofessionals, they're key to our district's operations, our students' growth, and they grew from 124 in fiscal year 06 to 301 in fiscal year 23, which is a 143% increase. So the rate of increase in paraprofessional staff was basically 204%. It was a 104% greater rate of increase than the rate of students increasing. But we were able to do that because the additional revenue they brought was not required to be needed to pay for the operations of the district. It could be pushed primarily into instructional. Our maintenance was basically flat with our square footage growth. We've went from 62 up to about 66 on 320,000 square feet of additions. Our clerical actually has been flat, and the business and HR support areas, we've been flat. So the whole point is that was the point of all that, is to put money into instruction. In fiscal year '06, salaries and wages and benefits were 80%, that's everybody's, of general operating fund expenditures. In FY23, they have grown to 88% of general fund operating expenditures. So a higher percentage of the budget is being spent on our personnel. So this is my other metaphor. The thing about school district finance, we've had a heck of a run. But you build the best sandcastle you possibly can, and then you fight as hard as you can, for as long as you can, to keep the tide of increasing costs from washing it away. So you can never solve your finances, forever, but you can solve them for a period of time. And we've had a pretty good run. Back in 2017, after we had passed that referendum, I started talking to Dr. Peterson about, we're at the referendum cap. We're going to need the legislature to increase the referendum cap by 2023 so we could run a referendum in 2023, so that we could get another chunk of revenue to take us another 7 or 8 years out into the future. This was actually on our legislative position statements back in November 2017 when the board reviewed them for the 2018 legislature. And that one of them, the first one was increase the operating referendum cap by $600. Then the next one is an additional inflation increase in local optional revenue, and then increase the basic formula revenue by 4%. It sounds really familiar to our current platform, but we've been pounding away on these since basically 2017. And the thing is that was an important aspect of what would be a pathway to fiscal year 2030. Back in June of 2018, we had a study session where at that time Chair Pam Langseth had all the cabinet members report, just kind of a free-form report, what are the things that you're concerned about, what things should we be looking at. And I put this together about how do we get to 2030 when we grow into our revenue from approximately FY23. And at that time it was grow about 100 students per year, so about another 500 students. And it would create, at that time with the revenue, they were getting $800,000 annually. And then also, over 5 years, you build $800,000 annually. It like layers on a cake. It grows to about $4 million ongoing into the future. This would be revenue that we would need in addition to incremental operating referendum revenue. But then the other piece would be no later than 2022, so we could run a renewal in FY23. In the fall of 23, was operating referendum cap by a minimum of $600 per pupil. So that'd be another $7.6 million layer. So between those two things would be about $12 million of additional revenue that would go forward, and carry us through to probably about 2030. And again, the board moved ahead with that, and we've been pounding away on that. But then in 2019, we've had some changes. So here's our airplane. And we got our 4 engines, but 2 of them are shut down. We're still getting state aid, we're still getting local levy revenue, but the operating cap increases, we're still getting those, but we don't have the ability to add another one on. And we've been pounding away on that since 2017. The other thing is our open enrollment growth, we had to average 223 a year. That's, about, at 223, that's over $2.6 million worth of additional revenue every year. But that engine shut down. The board shut that engine down in October 2019 when they set the cap at 11,100. So this was our interim general operating fund budget and projection. And we're still showing right now, and it's going to change a little bit by the time we actually adopt the actual amended budget. But we did with everything that we knew through December or through November when this report was put together for December 4th. And we're showing that we're still working a little bit of a surplus now with what we have, with the projections in there. But then we start getting into some more significant deficits in fiscal year 25, which starts in 6 months. So, and then increasing from there, and that assumes that we're staying at our enrollment cap of 11,100 plus additional, or plus whatever we get for Tonka Online Comprehensive, K-12. So the thing is at that time we were talking about, well, what would happen if we go up 130 students, 10 per grade? And so this, if you look at the rose-colored line, it's not rose-colored glasses, but it just happens to be rose-colored. But you can see that 130 students makes a difference. Makes a difference for fiscal year 25, almost balancing it out. And then it lowers the future years out also. So it's something where you don't have to say, hey, we're going up to 12,000 students at one time or anything like that, but you can evaluate every year and make changes depending on how we do at the legislature. So this is the last slide. Really, we are at the legislature asking for actually $750 increase in the operating referendum. We're asking for $362 on a third tier of local optional revenue, so similar but different to what we were, just a kind of a modification of what we first started asking for in 2017. But the combination of those two, if we roll double Yahtzee at the legislature and get both of those passed, that would generate over $13 million, which would really help sustain us into 2030, 2031 or so, 2032. So the thing is, we really need our legislators to go to bat for us. We really, the thing is we are one of the, in terms of state aid per pupil every year, we are in the lowest decile of 331 school districts. And for fiscal year 22, the last year that we have comparative data, because FY 23, everybody just closed in December, so we don't have comparative data yet for FY 23. But in FY 22, we were $1,545 per pupil below the state average of state aid. And we recognize that some districts need more state aid because of demographics in terms of poverty and things of that nature. And we understand that. So the point is, nobody's saying, hey, we got to stop doing that. But some of the districts, we're not the only district down there in that lowest decile, and there's a lot of districts that are $1,000 and more below the state average. We're at $1,545. And you take that times 12,000 students, and you're talking about $14 or $15 million that we are below the state average every year. So it's a significant difference. And we sure would like to be able to have the state allow us to make up for that $1,545 gap by giving us $362 in local optional revenue authority and another $750 to ask our taxpayers if they'd be willing to chip in to help make up that difference. And that would allow us to be able to keep going into the future, keep that string going, because it's been a very virtuous cycle, and it's benefited our students primarily. That's what it's all about. And it's actually good for all of us, because we can concentrate on our jobs and concentrate on students, because everybody knows that they're going to have a job in the next year. That's a really important thing for student success. So that's kind of where we're at, and that's why Superintendent Law has asked us to bring forward the consideration of another 130 students. So I'd be glad to answer any questions, or try to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bourgeois. Are there any comments or questions or discussion? Patrick?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a question for you, Paul. It's probably more for Superintendent Law. But I wonder if you could talk a little bit more specifically about how the district would plan to manage that enrollment. And some of that is how you already manage enrollment, but I think the public would benefit for having some understanding. If we're adding new bodies, how are we going to keep that manageable?
Sure, and the bullet points on here are intended to talk about how we would do this. One of the things I heard from board members in the community is, if we take any new students, please don't put them all at one building, because there's a perception that they're not equally distributed. We would prioritize spots across our district where there is lower than average class sizes, and that wouldn't create higher classes in the future as those students move through. We'd increase the school building target capacities based on what you approved last year, a proportional 10 students per grade. Really what that works out to be across is just about 1.4 students per building per grade. Some buildings are bigger than others, but we'd increase their target capacities proportionally. We'd maintain target class sizes. We get this question a lot. We shoot for 22 kindergarten, or last 23, 24 for first and second grade, 25, 27, 29. That's the numbers that I inherited. I've tried to stay at or below those. I shared with the board many times, 86% of our classrooms are at or below those numbers in grade levels. We'd we'd love to clean up where we currently are, but we'd maintain those target class sizes. Prioritize buildings farthest below the target capacity first. So if a building's already this year where next year's target would be, we'd probably leave them alone in the process. And then we have obligations to keep siblings together. So that we wouldn't split up a family across the district if they're coming in, if they've already got it. We would already let them in if they have a sibling come in. So the goal would be to take our existing building capacities and adjust them up proportionally based on the percentage that they are of that level, like elementary level. And then middle schools, they're both comparable in size and high school. So at 10 students per grade, Minnetonka High School would have about 40 new students, but spread across the district, or across the building in any given hour, most classes wouldn't notice that extra student. Middle schools, each, at 10 students per grade, over 3 grades, each school would probably have about 15 more students. We have a little bit more room at west than east. So we'd use these priorities. And there is no guarantee, even if you went up to 11,500, that families will like the school that we offer them. Our goal is to prioritize where parents want to attend. Sometimes that's proximity too. But this gives us the opportunity to bridge this fiscal cliff we're hitting and work hard on the legislature, as you know, we're trying to do.
Thanks.
Other comments, questions, discussion?
Yeah, one quick point. I think the analogy of a bridge is a good one here, because if I'm looking at our numbers and the explanation, it looks like if we adopt this enrollment increase of 130, absent any effort on the legislature, it buys us about a year based on current assumptions in the budgets. And the only thing I want to flag, just to handhold everyone through the budget process and the enrollment process, wherever it goes, it looks like salaries and wages and benefits, which make up, 88% of general fund expenditures, our current projections assume a 4% increase on those line items or something like that, and that's going to be affected by the ongoing negotiations with the teachers. So there is a chance that the deficits that we're looking at could be better or could be worse, depending on the outcome of those negotiations, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to put that out there, that's still in flux. And we'll just have to keep our eye on it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Bourgeois. It's always informative when you come and share with us. And just as a note, we're not voting to approve this tonight. This is a first review and a first talk about it, and it will come back at a future meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a review of the 24-25 school board goals. Superintendent Law?
Chair Salinger, members of the board, everyone here was part of this process, but this board, the school board, set goals for the 23-24 school year and finalized them in June. And then this October, we surveyed all of our teachers and all of our parents and said, of these goals, what do you think needs to roll forward, along with all of our student data? And we took that and transitioned to a preview of what the board goals would be for 24-25. Tonight, Executive Director of Communications, Dr. Jackie Getty, is going to do a public read of the goals that you talked about in November. We won't formally adopt these until June, but there's a high likelihood that what we have tonight, or a close version of it, is what will move forward later this spring. Dr. Getty.
Superintendent Law, Madam Chair, members of the board, and a special welcome to our new members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present your proposed 2024-25 school board goals as they are currently drafted. First, just a quick little outline about how board goals have been developed recently. School board first reviews the district's progress in achieving our current goals, and then the board considers the input that they have, the feedback received throughout the year from the board presentations that you see here, as well as from staff and student and families and the broader community. Sometimes that information comes through surveys, sometimes it comes through emails that you get or that the district gets, and things that you hear about assessments, activities, etc. Then you hold a planning meeting, and this year the first planning meeting was held November 20th, and the draft that you'll see here is based on those discussions. We're sharing it publicly tonight, And then the draft will come back to you again. You'll discuss more. We'll change it again with any community input or with any input that all of you have, and then at your discussion, and it'll come back at a future date for approval. So the proposed 2024-2025 goals continue to align with the district's theme of excellence in how we live, lead, and learn. They are excellence in well-being, connection, and belonging, excellence in student learning and support, and excellence in leadership and organizational support. For excellence in well-being, connection, and belonging, the first priority is prioritizing student mental health. Some of the action items that you outlined for that thus far are proactively contributing to students' social and emotional well-being throughout the school year, surveying students annually to identify where additional support's needed, continuing to implement the multi-tiered systems of support referral process and support structure to meet the needs of all students, and continue to confer with our Mental Health Advisory Council and to implement recommendations from that council as they're appropriate. The next was to create a welcoming, inclusive, and safe environment for all, and the action items that you identified thus far are to deepen implementation of belonging efforts across the school district, to provide training for staff on best practices in building connections with students, and to identify, analyze, monitor, and respond to trends affecting various demographic groups of students. The third was to increase bullying prevention efforts, to revisit and raise awareness of existing bullying prevention efforts, and to monitor the impact through student discipline data, through student reports, and through surveys. In the goal of excellence in student learning and support, the first priority area that you had was to increase opportunities for improved academic outcomes for all students. Action items under that, focusing on high quality universal instruction in all courses, including progress monitoring and teacher collaboration, providing staff development to address priority areas, increasing the impact of teacher collaboration time by giving consistent guidance and support, continuously monitoring effectiveness of programming at all levels and across the curricular areas, taking steps to ensure continuous improvement process includes programming for students receiving special education services, students learning English, and students in Tonka Online. The next priority area under this goal was improving student literacy. This was broadened out from the last time, which there was one priority, which was really to implement the students' literacy plan, and now you have several action items under this, which include aspects of the plan. Continuing to implement the district's updated literacy plan, provide training for all teachers on best practices in reading instruction, evaluate, I think that should say core, and supplemental literacy materials to ensure they are aligned to research-based practices, ensure all students are screened for barriers to literacy early in the educational process, monitor student growth throughout the school year and year over year to see if the impact of those interventions and acceleration is working, and report on standardized assessments like the MCA and NWEA, including student growth, and to look at the gaps. Two other priority areas under student learning and support is to expand student opportunities, particularly for the Vantage Advanced Professional Studies program and the Momentum Design and Skilled Trades program to meet the future needs of students. And then to improve middle school programming. And the action item under that thus far is to implement recommendations from a middle school task force as fiscally appropriate. And then the third goal that you have outlined is excellence in leadership and organizational support. There were 5 priority areas under this one. The first, to ensure long-term financial stability and sustainability for the district. The action items being to recommend adjustments that will ensure short-term and long-term financial stability. Such recommendations may include the following: adjustments to enrollment, reductions to expenditures, advocacy for legislative changes that will address funding shortfalls, other solutions, as you heard from Mr. Bourgeois tonight. The second priority area was to address staffing challenges impacting the district, to enhance the district's focus on recruitment and retention of exceptional teachers and staff, to include efforts to create a representative workforce that will enrich the learning environment for all students. The third, to ensure facilities meet the current and future needs of students, creating and implementing a facilities task force. It will conduct facility planning needs assessment and recommendations to meet the needs for all academic and co-curricular areas. And then to ensure high-quality meals, continue to implement that recently approved no-cost meal legislation, including breakfast at all schools, and gathering input from students and parents and implementing strategies that help us to increase variety and quality of food. And then finally, building community trust. This is something the board has been working hard on for the last few years and continuing with several action items in this. To inform and engage district constituents, including students, families, staff, and the broad community through outreach and engagement, and to create new in-person engagement opportunities for community members, for district leadership, and for the school board. To survey residents, families, students, and staff on their experiences and sentiments regarding the district, including their access to information. Develop strategies and tactics to address any challenges that are revealed by that data. Evaluate district policies and procedures related to community engagement. Include student voice in presentations and discussions with an expectation that each one of your board meetings will include student voice in some fashion. And school board members will continue to connect with and learn from other boards about best practice in supporting and engaging student and community voice. So that is what was drafted based on your conversation in November. And Superintendent Law, do you have a next step?
Really, it's important for our teachers and for our community to know what's coming next so that no one's surprised in August. The ideal goal would be that in May, we'll have a planning session and see if there are other things that have happened through legislation or otherwise that would change any of these goals. Then the board would formally adopt them in June. Over the summer, anyone could be working towards these goals, and then we'd be working through the process next year. But there is a desire to make sure that we're reporting on the progress of these goals. And so we're looking for ways to demonstrate measurably that we're moving forward in this, and that's always a goal of how do we know we've met this goal? And some of them are just things we're working on forever. But that is the next step in the process.
Thank you, Dr. Getty. Superintendent Law, are there any questions or comments for Dr. Getty? Patrick?
It could be for either one of you, but I guess my question has to do with that interim period between today and whenever we adopt them. Are we soliciting further input from the public, or if people have input on these goals, or is it really something we are just going to handle ourselves as a board?
So they're posted now, and they'll be part of this board packet, and we'll take input from now until certainly anyone who saw this presentation tonight. We've already surveyed the community once on them, so we probably wouldn't survey them again after we created them, but they're posted. And what I've experienced is as we hear themes in the community, those will steer the goals as much as anything. And if we really wonder, we'll do what we've done recently, we'll survey. We'll ask people, is this a big issue?
They'll also be listed in the school board news that goes out tomorrow, and that goes to all parents, students, and staff, so yes.
Any other questions or comments? I would just like to add that we did take those survey results into account when we met in November, and that was part of what drove the conversation around some of the changes. One of the things that we really tried to do was to make the goals more user-friendly, because some of the feedback was that they were hard to understand or hard to kind of digest. And so that was kind of one of the changes that we tried to make with this iteration of the goals, was to make it more accessible and useful to people. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next item on the agenda is to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Patrick? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next time, this is our opportunity for any board reports. Do any board members have items to report? Patrick?
For the last couple of meetings, I've been talking about our case committee, which is the way our community gets involved to advocate on behalf of public education with the legislature. We've been involved. We're in the thick of getting that committee reinvigorated and more involved. Right now, we had a meeting with the committee members that were able to meet last month on December 19th in this very room. And we have another meeting coming up in a couple of weeks here where we have invited our delegation of legislative leaders. That's going to be on the evening of January 19th. So if you are still interested in becoming involved with the case, please reach out to me or reach out to our Superintendent's Assistant, Carrie Voles, and we'll get your information and see if we can get you involved. It's going to be, for all the reasons you've heard today, very important for us to be engaged actively with the legislature to get as much support as we possibly can, and we'd welcome all members of the public to reach out and become involved, whether that's meeting legislators, talking on the phone, sending emails, or just communicating with other members of your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board reports? I have one from the Minnetonka Preschool and ECFE. They're having their open house on Saturday, January 27th from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. It's an opportunity for the public to come and just get an introduction to the preschool programming and the ECFE programming. Registration for the 2024-25 school year for preschool and ECFE opens on February 1st, so it's a good chance to kind of go check out the program before that enrollment opens. Any other board reports? All right, next item is superintendent's report. Doug.
I'm going to combine the next two topics. Our Public School Foundation is having their Dreammaker Gala within the next month. I'm making the announcement tonight because the tickets you buy this week have some added value in terms of getting there early and other incentives. Our Public Schools Foundation is a very generous contributor across our system, and this is one of their primary fundraisers, so please look for it. I think it's Dream On, Rock On is the theme. Looks like it's really fun. I encourage members of the public or staff to check that out and join us. Thank you.
Are there any announcements? All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss negotiations with the Minnetonka Teachers Association as provided by Minnesota Statutes 13D.03?
So moved.
Patrick, is there a second?
Second.
Mike, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries, meeting adjourned.